Yeah. Uh, Hello everyone. Today with my team, the green team is going to present on the topic of Fuyao Glass and where should they manufacture their raw materials from. And if we talk about the team, my name is Paras Thanwar and the rest are Margav Soni, Lu Ki Fang and Anindya. And now Lu Ki Fang gonna introduce about this industry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm Lucy Fang, and I would like to do the introduction and the founding of the Sino Foreign Equity Joint Venture in Fuyao, China in 1987 is where the Fuyao Glass Industry Group called Ltd got its start. Before going public in 2013, it has surpassed all other automotive glass producers in China and the world in terms of sales volume, holding a 65% market share among Chinese passengers vehicle OEMs and a 20% market share globally. By 2016, Fuyao Advantage has grown to almost 70% in China, despite the fact that the country manufactured 28 million vehicles compared to 12 million in the US out of a total of 95 million globally. Unlike its rivals, Fuyao was the only business that produced purely automobile glass. A full line of automotive glass products were developed by Fuyao. It's catered to mass market names like GM, Ford, Toyota, Nissan, and Kia, as well as luxury brands like BMW, Mercedes, Rolls-Royce, and Bentley. And the next slides, we would like to talk about the core issues. Our question is different locations for Fuyao glass production has different costs and how to choose it. And because if they have an order, they probably need to set up a company 2 years before the production. Once they invest, they can change the location. And they need to make sure to keep 7 days of safety stock inventory on hand. It is according to the article, like auto assemblers were very strict about deliveries as most had moved to just-in-time pool systems with their suppliers. Failure to deliver glass parts on time could cause a line stoppage, and some of Real's customers mandated severe financial penalties for cost. One day of penalties could wipe out the profitability of an entire program. Thus, Fuyao kept 7 days of safety stock inventory on hand and both Tianjin and Mooring. And the next slides, we'll talk about the base analysis. The first one is current cost estimates. Until cost at Tianjin plant is around 40.61 US dollars, and per unit cost and Mooring is 60.44 US dollars. Sourcing windshield from Tianjin is beneficial. And the second one is any decision on sourcing has to be made keeping the long-term view. The next one is cost behavior over this year shows it's important to take quick decision. And the last one is Tianjin plant is kind of cost efficient, but it lacks in transportation and packaging. And yeah, and next slide is according to our cost analysis of both parties, Tianjin and Mooring, it shows after 2 to 3 years, there are high possibilities that per unit cost of supplying more Mooring will be lesser than Tianjin. Therefore, after 2 to 3 years, sourcing of white shot from Mooring will be beneficial. And then the end is FGA post thoughts in their initial stages in previous years. They show FT profit is 213 23 231,000 and I don't know. Yeah, it's this amount of number. And the next slides will be presented by our team members. Yeah, and thank you.
So now I'm going to talk about who is dominating the market right now and the differences between Tianjin and Moraine. So if we look the competition between Tianjin and Moraine. So Tianjin is an old company, whereas Moraine is a new company. So Tianjin has been in this industry for a longer period of time, and that's why they had a, a good overhand above Moraine, because Moraine is a new competitor and it will take time for them to grasp this market. If The next point is the strong workforce, and Moraine has not too good of a workforce. As Tigen is an old company, the workforce is quite strong. They have worked in a certain way to produce their product, and it's been in the market for a very long time. That's why they have a very strong market force. Whereas Moraine, the workforce is not that good because they are still a new company and they are still figuring it out. Uh, uh, the next part is the government support. If we talk about China, China has good policies when it comes to their industries. The government gives subsidies to the manufacturing industries, and they through the subsidies they can get the raw material at a very low cost. Whereas in US there are a lot of rules and regulations, so that's why that's how the cost of the raw products increase. Uh, and the legal aspects in US is quite high. So in that case, also Tianjin has an upper hand. If we look at the leadership, Tianjin has a better leadership than Morayan, because again it's an old company. They have the hierarchy. The hierarchy is quite figured out. If we talk about Tianjin, whereas Morayan is still figuring it out to give the right job to the right person. If we talk about hygiene, they have low labor cost, whereas Moraine has a high labor cost. Again, because of the population of China, there are a lot of skilled labors that are there. Whereas in US, the population is not that high in comparison of China. Also, the wage rate in US is higher than the Chinese wage rate, so that's why they overlap, and the Tianjin has an upper hand again on Moran because of the lower labor cost. So they can produce more, they can manufacture more at a less cost. Again, the resource utilization is better in Tianjin as of Moran, because again it's an old company, so they have this stuff figured it out. So how their operation manages is quite effective in order to utilize their resources, whereas Morayan has a good kind of resource management. Is not that bad, but is not as good as Tianjin. Also, Tianjin is quite efficient in their work, whereas Morayan is time consuming, because again, Tianjin has upper hand because it's an old company. They have figured out how the market works, whereas Morayan, they still getting to know about the industry. Again, Taijin is faster in their scalar chain, so hierarchy works better in Taijin, whereas Morayan, it's the hindrance is the slow communication. In Taijin, if the lower personnel has to talk with the higher associate, it's quite easy and quite transparent, whereas Morayan, it takes time. Also, Tajin works depends on the Chinese yen currency, whereas Morayan works on the USD. So again, Morayan quite good in that because USD the rate is quite higher. So again, that that's where they cost more if we talk about Tajin, because Tajin works on the Chinese yen currency and which is like lower than the US dollar. So again, that's why Tajin is cheaper. If we look at this graph, so this graph shows the cost comparison between Tajin and Morayan. So if we look closely, the raw material is expensive in Moran, whereas Taijin produce their raw material at a lower rate. That is why they have the upper hand. I mean, if there are two companies, they're surely gonna take the raw materials where they're going to get it cheaper. So, and the next The next point is the packaging and transporting. So if we look at this graph, the packaging and transporting, Taijin is losing because it you have to export it from China, and that's where the export duties and the other trade duties, taxes that a country has to and a company has to face. So that's where it's better for Morayan. It's better for Morayan because the transportation is within the USA, and for the company Fusai glasses can they, comprehend because the transporting is lesser in case of Morayan. Other manufacturing cost, if we look at again, Morayan is higher because the Chinese government has the subsidies for the for the company, so they can produce raw material at a and other manufacturing stuff at a low cost, whereas in US is quite high. So that's why we can see the overlap in the manufacturing cost. Again, the labor again we talked it up on the last slide that labor is quite expensive in US because of the wage rates, and because in China the demand of skilled labors are a lot, which is met because of the high population. So the demand and the supply in China of the labors are met because there are a lot of skilled labors that are in China in comparison of USA. So Glass can look upon if the company is looking on this chart, so they can see that labor cost is quite high. If we talk about Moran, the electricity is quite the same because of the inflation, so it's quite the same for both the companies. And if we look at the depreciation cost again, Morayan is depreciation, but the depreciation of the asset of Morayan is quite higher than the Taijin. If we look at the graph, we can clearly see that Taijin has is better in most of the part against Morayan. So if we talk about the next 2 years, so the unfavorable side for Fusaya Glass could be that there is a constant war between China and USA because China wants to surpass USA in the economy and in the world power. So that's why they are in on a fragile ground. And USA is quite harsh on their regulation against China. So it's leading to an restriction on of import inside USA. So this might lead up to huge cost penalties, and company can bear a huge losses if they keep continuing to do business with the Chinese company. The favorable position for the company is the labor cost in USA is shrinking. So again, the labor cost is USA is shrinking. In if we have seen the past, if we look at the past trends, we can see that again USA is producing skilled labors, and that's why there are again there is a huge supply of skilled labors in USA, and that's why the cost is shrinking. Because again, if if we look at a company perspective, you have a lot of employees to choose from. You can bargain with the rates because everybody wants to get the job, but because of there's a lot of supply of the employees, and there is the demand, the supply overflows the demand, so the company can bargain with the prices and the wage rates. So yeah, that's kind of a favorable decision, but it's not that good, but it's getting on to that point where the labor cost will gonna cut down in the long run. Also, after 2 or 3 years, the first yield of both plants is expected to be similar. So the expansion of the both companies in the next few years are looking similar. But again, if we talk about Moraine, the cost is still high, and they have to look for the ways to cut down that cost if they want to expand and again to get the profit at the same level. Shipping rates from China might increase in the near future because of the trade war that's going on between USA and China. So the shipping rates that is quite definite to increase in the near future. So if we talk about the Fusai glass, it'll be better if they it'll be like quite better if they start getting their products from Ryan, because even though the cost is quite high in comparison of Tianjin, but in the near future it's not looking that good. So it's better if you get the products within your own country. Yeah. So the next style is going to be presented by my partner Abin India.
Yeah. Uh, Hello and a very good evening to all of you. Now we would be discussing about what are the threats this company might face. So two of the things comes into our mind that U.S. and China relation are they can impact the smooth flow of business because they are on very fragile grounds. And also every business has companies, every business has competitors. So in this business there are competitors like Picklington and Zinni Glass, and they have a great market share which might be a challenge for this company in terms of higher sales. uh, if we Now the second thing is that which most business plans for, what if my business fails? Now, there should be a contingency plan. The company should plan to set up a plant in Canada. The glass plates can be shipped from Mount Zion, Illinois, and the company can also plan that what would they have done if Marianne plan was not there, and that is to ship the goods from Tianjin, which may be cost inefficient, but it won't cause huge difference than the current scenario. Uh, Now, the next slide would be what advice we should give to the company. The glass plate should be shipped from Tianjin because the shipping from Illinois may be too costly. Illinois is a part of USA, so the relation key comes into play. The US-China relation key, and the improvements to be done. First of all, this company should employ talented people, skilled labor, not random people or people from their own country. That's what gives you the result, and the people will be far more productive. And they should also try to track the motion of the employee, try to make comparison that how the people in China works and how the people in USA are working, and they should try and create a system which uh, cause equilibrium between these two locations, and what change can be done so that the productivity of these two locations are in same phase. uh, they should also try to ship as much inventory as possible because shipping cost may increase in the coming future, and the holding cost will be much less. Glass is not a fragile item, but they can be kept in holding. Now the next slide would be shared by our colleague Mr. Margavsoni.
So now let's come to the conclusion. And it has been predicted that they should choose Moran instead of Tangin, because Moran is a new company and it will add up to more the capital. Just because it is new, we can get many benefits from them, including the transportation cost and the packaging cost. And they can also like put more labor force from outsourcing, because if they do it outsourcing, then they will get it more cheaper instead of from the existing ones. And the company must sustain their good reputation as they are doing now, so it will add up to their goodwill and so on. And supply should be done on fast pace, because if they will do it fast, they will have more retailers and wholesalers in their pace of the business. So that's it. Thank you.